So, why are Americans going to Mexico and really many other countries for healthcare? It's pretty simple. Yeah, ever since I was a kid in the 80s and 90s, people have been going to Mexico for dental procedures, cosmetic surgery. I mean, even things like antibiotics, prescriptions, drugs that are very expensive here in the United States. People are going to Mexico. And the same way with a lot of these procedures like knee replacements and things like that. They're going to Mexico, and they always have been. Americans are getting tired of paying so much for healthcare, and they're getting tired of dealing with the insurance companies. And I think there's some U.S.-based institutions, such as the Mayo Clinic, that are starting to recognize this. And Mexico, for instance, has worked for years to improve the standards of care. And there's even travel agencies that aid these travel healthcare consumers in planning their trip. But Americans aren't just going to Mexico. Well, take the Mayo Clinic, for instance. The Mayo Clinic has a network of more than 40 members across the United States in places like Mexico, Saudi Arabia, South Korea, Singapore, and the UAE. So like I said earlier, there's American institutions opening up shop in places like Costa Rica and Abu Dhabi. Costa Rica is a 2.5-hour flight from Miami. Singapore is becoming a very viable option for Americans to seek health care. Because it's ranked number 6 in the world when it comes to healthcare, compared to the United States at number 37. Yeah, obesity procedures are something that are very common overseas. Things like gastric bypass, the lap band, for instance, that's very common. And they can be pretty expensive in America. Experts that we talk to say that some people here in the States have to fork out at least $25,000 to get gastric bypass surgery. In Singapore, you could almost cut that in half or more because the cost on average is about $12,000. It's about the same price in Dubai, although a flight might cost you a little more. But in Mexico, which is easier to get to, that cost is much less. So why are Americans seeking healthcare in places like Mexico and other countries? It's really not that complicated. It's fairly easy to travel overseas, and it's purely economics. Americans are seeing that healthcare is costing them more, it's harder to navigate, and while the recent kidnappings and murders of the Americans in Matamoros is tragic, it's going to do very little to deter people from going overseas to seek health care. And perhaps it shouldn't deter people. I mean, if you're smart about it, it can be a perfectly safe and affordable option for people who are having difficulty accessing health care in America.